scoot in a little bit.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Cole.
Welcome to our home. Thank you guys for joining us. We're so excited about talking about Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you guys have been able to watch the movie and enjoy it this week, or not enjoy it, depending on what your take is.
Yeah. I was going to ask, just while we're beginning off, what would you guys say is y'all's opinions on this movie?
Well, I want to say hi to Andy and to Mike before we get going.
Yeah.
Glad y'all are able to join us tonight. Mike said, how's life in the big city?
Yeah.
Talking to Andy, I'm guessing. For us, we don't live too far from Mike, and we're all in smaller communities. But if y'all happen to hear some little chirps in the background, we have a couple of guests on our show today. We have, let me get one of them for you.
Get a Chewbacca, that would be fitting.
We have this little guy. And, these we don't know if they're male or female. So this one has 3 siblings. And so...
Hey, Duke Family Chronicles.
Duke Family Chronicles. And so, anyhow, they're going to be in the background.
We're going to be doing a Disney Plus discussion on Star Wars. It's kind of like a book club.
So if y'all hear that in the background, you'll know what it is. Anyhow, back to the movie. You asked the question, what did I generally think about the movie?
Yeah. Just before we get into it, what was your personal opinions?
When I watched it in the theater, if you take all the concept of Star Wars and you threw it out,
like all the stuff,
the things you have to know to kind of keep Star Wars in mental mind of your brain of how it works, and you throw all that out, I feel like you can watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah, and if you guys want, you can comment. You guys can comment as well.
But if you're a big analyzer, the more you watch it, to me, the more you go, well, I think I'd have done this different. Or I'd have done that different. Or this could have been done this way or that way.
Yeah, that's honestly where I fall in personally. I don't dislike the movie necessarily.
Y'all comment and tell us what you think also, just as a general idea, whether you like it or don't like it, or what you think maybe made it greater or less than.
I think it was probably a little bit worse. I don't like to say worse. It wasn't as good as episode 7, but I would say it's pretty much on par with maybe episode 3, because that's not bad, but it's not just loved by everybody.
I felt like it was entertaining. Like Mike said, it was entertaining for
very
sure.
Very entertaining.
Sticking with the whole way Star Wars has portrayed everything, I feel like they abandoned that real bad in several categories.
I was gonna say, like, it
was a nice little sweet kind of ending to the whole thing, rather than what I feel like would be a real Star Wars type ending.
Yeah,
I'm sure, Mike, when you wrote "What in the world," you're probably talking about, why do we have chickens in here? Well, when my kids are about 12 or so, 11, 12, we got cold chickens, so he could try it out. He didn't like chickens too much.
I still don't.
They become mean sometimes. And then when Allison's now around that age, so we thought, well, let's get her some chickens, and she can, raise them, and we'll have some eggs for a little while and see how they work out. And, I've got some friends through my church that if we don't end up keeping them, they will be happy to take them. And they're supposed to be all egg layers, so we'll see.
This is a boy. But anyways, Andy H said, I like the parallels to the classics. Those who get to the dark side have a chance to turn back.
Okay.
Yeah. Although I will say, with episode 8, that kind of throws a wrench in the system of it all, of the whole parallel. But I think that was kind of what the movie was going for, was not being directly a parallel to the originals.
But I really feel like 7 and 8 kind of set the tone as if things were gonna be different. But then in 9, they really tried to return real hard to the
Yeah.
to the first sets because they had to with bringing. Well, we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah. Duke Family Chronicles said, I want to go back and see if there were any hints of Palpatine and Rey.
Mm. I feel like there were. One hint, I don't think we're talking about anywhere, are we?
What is it?
Are we talking about hints of Palpatine and Rey? Okay,
No,
great.
really.
Glad you brought it up. I think one of them is the way she lunges with the sword. Very Palpatine-ish.
I have heard that is a very Palpatine-ish.
And so I feel like that was a good indicator ahead of time. In fact, that was Allison's theory, remember? That she was
But
Palpatine's
that was
family.
not necessarily one of her pieces of evidence.
No, but she just felt that was what it was. And
it was her theory.
Hey, you know.
I would have preferred a Kenobi.
She was right.
I would have preferred if she was a Kenobi. But that is just me.
You know, what do you do? When she's right, she's right.
But
All
then,
right. So what's Mike say there? Or were you going to add something? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to do the same thing.
So Mike says, well, not to go too deep yet, but episode 9 had a ton of stuff to correct from episode 8. Okay.
I'm just gonna say this right out front.
Episode 8 is Cole's favorite.
No, it's not my favorite. I used to say that, but after watching the originals again, I would say episode 4 is my favorite. And probably episode 5 is even better than episode 8. But I still think episode 8 is a good Star Wars film. Maybe it's just because I was excited that they weren't going to just stick to the originals. But the problem with me is I thought episode 7 was like too close to the originals. So whenever they went back in episode 8 and they changed some stuff up, I know you say, Mike, that they did Luke dirty. I think they kind of made his character more... they made him seem like a bad person who turned good in the end. Who's like this real... what's the word I'm looking for?
I'm with Mike. They did Luke dirty, boy. They made Luke look like he turned out to be a terrible human being. They really did. Well, yeah, but I mean... that was
why I liked it, is because they kind of showed Luke in this light of people fall, but eventually they can turn around.
Yeah, but Luke was like always in the originals, the good guy, the clean guy, the one who was always on the right, trying to get even Darth Vader to turn back good, you know, all those things. And then you come into episode 7 and somehow he's become this just terrible human being. I just so counter his original character. I mean, I felt like it was a little forced. That was a good one.
We can all have our own opinions, and just some of ours may be wrong. I mean, what?
Yes, you can have your opinion, and I can have the truth. But go ahead. Let's move forward.
All right. So episode 8 is a beast for another time. You're right. So let's move on to some of the questions. So what was y'all's favorite scene in the movie? Episode 9. Episode 9, favorite scene. Let me think here. Mine is the Han Solo having that little Force ghost or memory talk with Kylo Ren. I thought that was my favorite scene. I think it's just because I didn't expect Han Solo to ever come back after he died. I have 2. Hey, movie talker. Yeah. I have two scenes that I felt like were pretty neck and neck for me. One is when Finn does the ground attack on top of the Star Destroyer. Okay. I thought that was a really cool scene. It was kind of like we're going to have to go back and do things the old way because the new way wasn't going to work. I thought that was a good kind of tight scene. Movie talker said his favorite scene was whenever Chewbacca was alive. Okay, very good. Andy H said Ben Solo returns whenever that scene comes. Yeah. Mike, I think, agreed either to the Ben Solo returns or to whatever I said. How do you know it wasn't what I said? You haven't finished your thought out. Well, that was one of them. But you hadn't even finished your thought out. The second thing I think was a great scene, and I'm not a big fan of the way the ending played out, but I thought it was a very cool scene when she's got to strike him, and he's like, "Oh, it's gonna strike me!"
and she reaches behind like this to whack him, and she hands Ben Solo that sword.
That is a pretty cool
That's
scene.
a cool scene because you just built up to that point through all those other movies.
In episode
and
8.
I felt like it is in episode 8, but I felt like that was kind of this building block moment where you see where that connection was finally used for something good.
All right, so Mike Cross, I'll do Duke Family Cross because they said there first. Luke, they said they loved meeting Kylo meeting Palpatine.
Okay, yeah.
That was a very weird scene. Like, I'm not saying it was a bad scene. I think it was like a creepy scene.
Well, the whole Sith planet was creepy.
That was weird.
Let's just be honest.
It was a cult, basically.
Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, it's something you'd think you'd see when they're biting heads off of stuff, and it's just creepy.
I mean,
like a seance or something. I mean, really.
They were trying to merge Rey and Palpatine together.
Right.
So, it was weird. Mike said all the Jedi speaking at the end, especially since they included Kanan and Ahsoka. Now, I know they included a bunch. I thought the scene, personally, they could have done it a little bit better, but at least they did this, and I liked it at that scene. Like, I think they could have done better with that scene. Maybe they could have shown them. Or, even better yet, I've seen other people, they've made, like, recreations of the ending where they, like, actually fight people. I thought that may have been a little bit cooler, but for what it's worth, this was a good touch to at least add into the movie.
I felt like it was a feel-good moment.
Yeah.
Like, let's bring back all the characters and let's have them have a little input, a little statement here to just kind of reminisce of all of Star Wars at the end of the final movie is like a big kumbaya moment. I mean, that might make some people mad, but that's really where I felt like it was a big kumbaya moment with the characters. And I mean, it was all right. I'm not against it. I just felt like it was, you're ending the movie, the whole series.
Yeah.
That's probably why I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
That's just me.
If I'm gonna choose,
I didn't dislike it.
If I'm gonna choose a second favorite scene,
that's your second favorite?
No, it's where C-3PO gets his memory erased. It's
Oh,
where
I didn't like
because
that scene.
I just feel like he's been throughout all of Star Wars, and then he's like, I'm gonna give it all up because if I don't give it all up, all of what I've fought is null and void.
Yeah.
So whenever he gives it all up, it's kind of like that's like a really nice moment. It's kind of like you grew. I mean, he was there from the very beginning. It was the first character you meet. He was kind of one of the reasons why Luke even came into existence. Any of it came.
Right.
But it was just a nice moment. And then they, of course,
I'm with
later
you on the nice moment. I just didn't like it because I just didn't like him losing his memory.
I get it.
But it worked out.
Yeah. All right. So, Movie Talker said I halfway left the theater when Chewbacca was presumed gone, and when he was back, I decided to stay. Yeah. We're going to go into detail about that later.
And I'm with Mike. I feel like you're right. If it had been Force ghosts rather than just voices, it would have been better.
Yeah.
But they probably just didn't have the capability of bringing all those people back in Force ghosts.
Well, I know some of them wouldn't have been able to. I mean,
right. That's what I'm saying.
It would have been also pretty controversial with like some of the Anakin Skywalker stuff because a lot of people don't like that. They have a new version of Star Wars Episode 9 or Episode 6 where they have Anakin instead of the original actor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It probably would have been controversial, but I just thought it would have been cooler.
Right. Duke Family Chronicles says, you knew Chewie could not go out in that way.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. If they'd have let him die like that, that would have been the greatest scene.
That's what I said.
Of the movie.
You guys didn't agree with me at first. Because I remember going out, I was like, I hate to say Chewbacca should have died, but like
I'm just saying
that
if
would have
he
been
died,
that would have been
the
great
scene.
way for him to die.
In this epic battle.
Because no one expects it. Chewbacca can be anyone.
Yeah.
It's not like Leia. You always have to have Carrie Fisher do it. So when she died, you knew she was going to die in the end of the movie.
Well,
Chewbacca, though, anybody can play Chewbacca. All you need is a new person who's tall.
Hey, the real guy who played Chewbacca in the original, my niece's husband delivered his packages by FedEx until he died here recently.
Hmm.
But Chewbacca's scene when he found out Leia was dead makes me cry every time I watch it. Yeah, Mike, I agree. That scene is rough. It really is. Because you can just see the heartache.
Yeah.
But I agree with Duke Family Chronicles. By the way, I didn't say that. You knew whenever it happened, you're like, no way did that just happen. Not that easy.
I thought to myself in there, I was like, at first I was like, nah, that couldn't have been right. But then I was like, well, Finn had to have seen it happen. Whenever he had to see the ship, whichever ship Chewie was in. I was like, dude, he had to have died. I was like, dude, that's a great scene. This is kind of like turning the movie around for me. I'm thinking this is like a top 5 even.
Andy said the link I sent was the Kylo Ren undercover boss skit. Don't know if y'all saw that yet. We have not.
No.
And so we'll have to check that out after the live stream.
I've seen it actually. It
was
on. You? Yeah. This is before I knew anything about SNL, but it was on there.
Oh, okay.
But this is whenever I was like 12 or 10, so I didn't know anything about that.
Movie Talker says, have you seen Logan's Run? The visits to the weird planet remind me of that. I've not seen Logan's Run.
Neither have I.
Yes, Chewie's cry was so sad. I agree.
Chewbacca's just like one of those people you...
Well, it's because he's rough and tough, and then all of a sudden you see him crying. He didn't even cry when Han died. It just showed you the connection that he had with Leia over Han, even. And you're just like, man.
He was sad with whenever Han died, but not nearly.
But not like that. That was like, I guess, maybe like that moment when you've lost everyone that's close to you.
Yeah, he did.
And the last person dies that was that close, and you're just like, oh no. Now I'm the last. You get what I'm saying? I feel like that's kind of the moment that was going on, but maybe it was even stronger than that.
What kind of main characters would you like to see in the 10, 11, and 12 trilogy? Now, I'm not trying to burst any bubbles, but I have heard that this is the last one in the timeline of
Disney
movies.
Owns this. It ain't the last one.
Now,
they're going to make more.
They're going to make more movies.
Yeah, but they're going to make more of these. Trust me.
But I hear it's the last one in the timeline of the whole series.
Let's be honest. There'll be a movie about finding that girl's parents at the end. There'll be a movie.
Now,
there'll be a movie about every little detail they can figure out.
There's a book
on how to make money.
There's a book Disney published, and it says that Lando is the girl's mother, is the girl's father. Now, this is a book, and as we've discussed in last week's episode, I don't agree with everything that Disney puts out about the books, like Chirrut being non-force sensitive.
Right.
You know. And good shows always.
Yeah.
But if I was going to choose for episode 10, 11, and 12, I would probably choose. It would be cool to see.
Episode 19, The Quest for Jar Jar's Aunt. That'll really be the way it is with Disney. All right, let's move on. We're getting bogged down here.
All right. So what was your?
We were talking about. Did we talk about the cast or anything? Did we need to? No.
No, I was just for.
So what was the least favorite scene in the movie? The least favorite scene in the movie. Did we already ask that? No, we asked the favorite.
Yeah. All right. My least favorite scene is probably. Gosh.
Y'all write your least favorite scene while we're talking about it.
The Star Wars Visual Dictionary for Episode 9. What says that? What says that, correct? Ha 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 ha. Kylo and Rey kissing.
I'll be honest with you. For me, it was when Kylo, when the whole, and maybe I'm just crazy here. Cole thinks I'm crazy because this is one of my least favorite scenes. Is when Rey's body, not Rey,
Kylo or Ben Kenobi or not Kenobi.
Leia's body sinks into it just kind of disappears and the sheet drops. And then Ben also disappears. That whole...
Well, he doesn't... Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
they
he
do
does.
disappear at the
So
same time.
that whole gig right there is kind of awkward to me because I don't know where it picks up. I mean, is Leia supposedly bringing Han's... Because, I mean, it's not a Force ghost with Han.
What I've heard
And
is he was
so
a memory.
if it's just a memory, is she projecting that memory then?
I don't know.
Or not?
It would have been nice if, like, in episode 7, she could, like, sense it or something. Like, you see everyone.
And it's like her body, she dies, but her body doesn't sink until after he dies, or right around the time he dies, because she's already felt it, right?
So it's confusing to you.
I mean, I just feel like that's like... It's not explained very well. It's very
confusing.
Awkward. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean,
get
Mike,
that.
I'll be honest, I didn't mind the kiss so much. I mean, I feel sorry for her having to kiss him.
I know that's a very controversial scene.
It is awkward.
It's awkward because...
You're talking about the kiss.
Yeah. I'm saying,
I know it is. A lot of people dislike it. I mean, it didn't do anything to me.
I actually think it was built up well in episode 8. And maybe that's why people dislike it, is because it was built up in episode 8. And they kind of tried to, like, take everything out of episode 8 except for that.
It was like Romeo and Juliet shoved into Star Wars. I mean, if you've ever read Romeo and Juliet in high school or college, you'll know that's pretty close. I mean, the forbidden love of two people who are on opposite sides, and then when they finally agree to do something about it, death comes to both of them. I mean, honestly, that's what happens to her. She dies.
She dies.
He revives her, and then he
dies.
dies. I mean, it's like Romeo and Juliet right into Star Wars to me. But
Duke Family Chronicles said they agree with Kylo Ray, but they also said that it was more Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
I guess if Belle had died whenever she cried into the Beast's arms or whatever happened. What?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen Beauty and the Beast. I mean, I've seen it.
I think part of the reason that scene's so terrible, Mike, is because it's shrouded by all that other weird stuff going on. And it's like, really?
You're going to kiss in the middle of all
this? She just died? She comes back, you kiss her, and then you die? And then your mother's body deteriorates? I mean, this is just weird, man. It just it didn't make any sense to me. And so, that's just my opinion. That whole shrouded scene there, I just didn't like it. That's my least favorite.
All right.
That whole section.
A weird scene, I'm not sure I like it very much, is probably the Death Star scene. No, you know what? I don't like the scene where they go up and she tries to, like, fight Kylo Ren in, like, this Force Ghost battle. Not Force Ghost battle.
While she's in his quarters and he's down on...
That's just a weird scene. And then they, like, did that... They tried to, like, in the trailers, they tried to make it seem like she was going to turn evil. And everyone was excited about that. Because that's what people wanted, really. They wanted to see her turn evil and then Kylo Ren turn good. And then fight each other.
Right.
But it was just weird that they, like, kind of just didn't do that. It was kind of like clickbait, really.
I felt like there were several things that were kind of like clickbait. But all in all, the movie was watchable.
Yeah.
It just wasn't as... Well, here we are talking about it, so maybe it was good for discussion.
Thank you for 4 likes, by the way.
Yeah, thank y'all very much.
All right, so let's move on to the next question.
Yeah, we're getting bogged down pretty hard.
Well, we already kind of answered what we think about the ending, but what did you guys think about the ending?
Yeah, y'all comment and let us know what you thought about the ending. We're going to move on to the next question, and we'll come back and read your comments.
So, who was your favorite character in the movie?
Favorite character in the movie?
I'm sure a lot of people are going to say Babu Frick.
I mean, new character or favorite character?
Just favorite character in general.
Probably Chewbacca.
Chewbacca was a good character. I think, what's his name? Han Solo was the best acting.
Maybe. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Poe Dameron is a pretty good on the new ones.
Mike Crossbow will talk about that in a minute, but he said Rise Skywalker. Really?
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that.
That's a later question, Mike. Don't get us off point. We already are. Ugh.
All right. So,
what did we watch this twice this week?
I
think we watched it twice.
I don't remember. I think I watched it once, and maybe you watched
Mike's
it
wearing
twice.
his Babu Frick shirt right now.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you, if you're not talking about like a character, I'm a big fan of all the droids. They're some of my favorite things.
Yeah,
they're not my favorite
I
things.
thought Mo was dumb, honestly.
Who?
Mo, the little droid that's kind of like a wheel on the bottom. He like tried to copy.
Dio?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Not Bo. Dio.
Oh, I wasn't a big fan of Dio either.
Dio was kind of just
all
like.
Right, so did we ask them your favorite character? Mike's, I'm guessing, is Babu Frick.
I liked Ben coming back dressed like Han, vest and blaster in hand. I thought that was actually a really good scene. I thought
that was
too.
An alright scene, like
that was
redemption mode.
Yeah.
It's like
he took on his dad, honestly.
It's like all the and Mike, this might explain why she says she's a Skywalker. It's like all the Skywalkers, even going back to Anakin and Darth Vader gig, they've all returned from the dark side or never went there. And, I felt like she was just trying to pick a family line at that point.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. But we'll get to that. Well, that question's later.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe what Andy's saying there with the whole coming back dressed like Han, that was a pretty good scene.
Yeah, favorite. I'm just gonna say it. If you were talking about new characters, probably Babu Frick for me. They didn't really introduce that many new characters, but
yeah, new characters.
Babu Frick's pretty.
That's a new one for this movie. Yeah, that's the best one in this movie for sure.
Yeah,
as far as new characters.
All right,
and here's one. You got a least favorite character or something?
No, but you can.
Here's one for you. How about how bad they just like destroyed the Rose Girl?
Oh gosh.
She had this prominent role all the way till this movie, and then in this movie she's just like, girl. I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah, she was just like, I guess I'm a general.
There was all this tension between her and Finn, and you're like, are they like an item? Are they not? Are they just friends? What's the gig here? And then she shows up in this one, and she's nothing. She has no role. It's just weird.
Yeah. Very weird.
It's like she made J.J. Abrams mad or something, and he was like, you're out. It was just odd.
All right, so what did you think of the villain? It's any villain you want to do. I personally think Palpatine was the main villain.
Oh, sure he was.
Sure
he was.
He was a little creep.
Ben was a villain for a chunk of the time, too.
He was, but I've never just loved Kylo Ren other than in Episode 8. Because I got to kind of like grow with the character, and I kind of understood why he was who he was. In Episode 7, I just thought he was a whiny brat.
Yeah, what do y'all think? What did you think of the villain? For me, Palpatine was as creepy as ever.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that he was caught off guard that their two powers would turn him back to regular life. I thought that was an interesting thing, that he would be caught off guard, being that he was so powerful and had been around for so long. It's odd to me that would catch somebody off guard. You would think he would already know, some things like that. But
I think it was kind of confusing, honestly. Thinking back to it, it's like, was he a clone or what? I don't understand all that.
Mike says, I actually like the fact that it's always been Palpatine who is the villain throughout the whole saga. Playing the long game is a very
Sith. I think he's saying Sith move.
Yeah, I think
or Sithy, but he said it's City.
I would agree with you, Mike. I think that was probably. I didn't think they were going to do that because that was pretty widely expected. I saw lots of reviews of people guessing that's what they thought that it was going to happen, but I did feel like it was a great ending to the concept of he's always been the bad guy.
Yeah,
and so it makes a lot of sense
mm-hmm.
that he's just like laid back and waited for his moment to.
Although I will say it's almost kind of sad that whenever Darth Vader killed him, it was almost for nothing.
Right. Well, sort of. It wasn't.
I mean, it wasn't, but at the same time, it kind of felt like it was because of this movie. I guess that may just be how I feel, but.
All right.
So
moving on to the next question.
So, what did you guys think did you think the dialogue of this movie fit the space setting? Kind of like, did you think the dialogue fit the movie, basically?
I mean, I felt like the dialogue was fine, other than, and then there was a few sections where it was kind of cheesy.
I thought it was very jokish, really.
Yeah, Cole felt like there was too many jokes for a normal Star Wars movie.
I mean, if you look back at Rogue One, or even in the originals, there weren't too many just like one-off jokes in the middle of it. There were like...
The jokes didn't bother me so much, but Cole felt like it was not very good. Yeah, the jokes were tearing it down.
All right, so what did you guys think was the most unrealistic scene of the movie for Star Wars?
Oh, unrealistic scene of the movie for Star Wars.
Andy said there was a lot more jokes, like where Kylo has his shirt off. Well, that's in episode 8, but yeah.
Yeah. The y'all comment also what it is that y'all felt like. What was the question again? You just read.
What was the most unrealistic scene in the movie for you guys?
Yeah, y'all comment what you felt like was the most unrealistic scene. What was yours, Cole?
I thought it was kind of weird that Rey could use the Force to heal people. That was pretty weird because all the other Jedis in the past could have done that. It would have been nice I've heard people say this, but would have been nice for people like Qui-Gon Jinn, who was stabbed, which she did that to Kylo Ren to help him. Would have been nice if that was like back in the Star Wars war, but I just thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah. I felt like it was weird whenever she was running around burying stuff under the ground at the end. Yeah, I felt like that was kind of unrealistic. Why would you go bury all these lightsabers? That's odd.
Would have been nice if she passed them down to her apprentice, because they've set that up in episode 8 with that kid.
Yeah, I felt like too.
That would have been a good Luke. This is Luke's lightsaber.
Butterlord said, did you like the sequels? Thought Last Jedi in particular stood out. It's 50-50 with fans, but it's a breath of fresh air for me. Still an excellent movie.
Hey, I thought
Mike
the
Cross
same
said,
thing.
yeah, but there were plenty of Force abilities in the other movies that we haven't seen before. I'm with you on that, Mike. I felt like every time you have a character, it's almost like characters have certain special abilities that some are better at than others. I mean, to me, that's what it kind of feels like. Except for Ben Kenobi. He was never special at anything. He was just a good old generic around.
Actually, he held the laser whenever in the episode 7, whenever, what's his name? Poe Dameron shot at him. He held the laser.
Who did?
Kylo Ren.
I didn't say Kylo Ren.
Oh, Ben Kenobi. I'm sorry. He said
Ben Kenobi. Solo. And so, to me, that was, one of those situations where everybody kind of has their own signature thing. Surely Rey's is more than just shoving lightsabers under the ground. It's healing people, maybe. I don't know. The film took risks, and I like that. Okay. Mike Cross said, like Luke force projecting himself in 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really. I like that.
But that was like a setup, because then you see Kylo Ren and Rey able to like force project themselves even,
Yeah,
and so that was kind of like this setup moment. It's kind of odd.
it's almost kind of weird that Rey is a little too powerful in some of these movies. Like she can move items anywhere or heal people. I mean,
Butterlord
Luke
said,
was
"I
kind of
would have
like
liked
that too.
to see what Rain Johnson would have done with Episode 9."
Well, actually, if I'm mistaken, I think they came out with some concept art where there was going to be all sorts of other little things, but I don't remember if it was Ryan Johnson or another director. But I think recently they came out with some concept art of it.
And then Andy said that, right, that's a good example, Mike, talking about the projection of Luke Skywalker in Episode 8.
Yep.
All right, next question.
All right, so if there was going to be a spinoff of this film, what character would you like the film to be centered around?
Yeah,
That's kind of like what
y'all comment what character you would think would make a good spinoff.
That's kind of like what movie watcher asked us. I mean, it would be kind of cool to see that one girl and then what's his name?
So you want to see the girl at the end in a spinoff?
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
I mean, I think it'd be cool to see a Poe Dameron movie with Poe figuring out about him being a spice runner and how he went from that to
that would be cool
being
too.
a part of the rebellion.
Mike said Babu Frick. He's a black market droid smith.
That's true.
I mean, it'd be cool if they did like a short. That would be really cool because I don't know how you would make a full-on movie or show with someone who doesn't talk.
Well, he talks.
He doesn't talk in English though.
Mumbles in English. Maybe Finn's story from the beginning. Maybe so. I feel like we've got a pretty good image of Finn, though.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe that'd be great.
Allie said, "Old Ben."
Old Ben. She just keeps saying Old Ben.
Definitely.
Every time you say Ben.
For me.
All right. It would be interesting to see
Mike said
a Kylo Ren, maybe, and how he changed over to the dark side and his battle maybe with good and evil, and you might be able to see a perspective of how long he'd been struggling with coming.
Show, though.
It would be.
Mike said his show is coming. I think he's talking about Babu Frick, though.
Oh, probably.
It'd be cool for a short, though, for sure. I don't know.
Thinking about Babu Frick, that's the next question. What do you guys think of Babu Frick?
Babu Frick was a good character, a good new character, but I don't know, he was just fine to me. I don't necessarily just love him. I kind of just more like what other people think of him, I guess. It's kind of like, what's a good example? It's kind of like whenever all your friends start liking a movie, you may not just love it, but you just kind of like hanging around your friends with it. It's kind of like that with the Star Wars movie with me for Babu Frick. I don't just love Babu Frick, but everyone loves him, so I'm like, it's kind of funny to see all the stuff that everyone posts about him online and stuff.
I mean, I feel like for as small of a role as he had, he kind of stole the show.
Yeah.
He was awesome, is what Mike says. I love the fact that his character was a partial effect instead of CGI.
Yeah, it's kind of like partial effects, kind of like K2SO, right? Because he was part CGI
and part
person, like a real person inside of a robotic suit.
I
like that too. If you guys want to know a little interesting tidbit about Rogue One, actually, there's a part where Cassian is slapped by K2SO, and in real life, he's got a blood stain on the top of his head from whenever he slaps him.
Yeah, he really does slap him.
So, I thought that was interesting.
All right, so what do you think of Han Solo and Kylo Ren scene?
I liked it. I thought it was like a good callback to Episode 7. It was like the same exact dialogue, basically. So, it was kind of like a play on its head. It was a pattern almost. Parallel.
That if there's a reason that I would say I do like it, I'm kind of torn in this scene because I don't like it in one aspect because I'm like, raw, but because it's the same basic concept. But at the same time, I'm kind of torn because I'm like, at the same time, I like it because it's like Han Solo and what you thought was null and void words to him because he kills him. But then in this scene, you can see that those words, if it really is just a memory, those words were long lasting in his heart.
Well, you even see
he couldn't get away from them.
Well, you even see him in that exact scene of episode 7 in the very beginning. He's having a flashback of it.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that he remembers it, and it still lingers in his head. And even in episode 8, he was struggling with when he killed his dad.
Yeah, I don't think it was a bad scene by any stretch. I felt like it was great. It was fine, and it maybe even been great. But it's like if I knew for sure it was just a memory, it would make a whole lot more sense to me.
Mike said it was surprising for sure, and then Mike said, "That's right, Chris, and don't ever give up on your kids."
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what did you guys think of the Darth? I said Darth Sidious. It's really Palpatine twist, like where he came back. I'm very split on this issue, so you might.
Not me. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I felt like it was a good issue for me, or a good situation. I thought that was a good culmination of the whole saga, wrapped into one big, nice, pretty bow.
Yeah.
And just to me, it was like it should have been.
Yeah.
He's always been the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
To me.
Well, for me, it's kind of just like I said earlier. It's kind of like the idea that, well, we don't ever get to. What is it? If Darth Vader died at the end, it was almost for null and void. It's like the whole trilogy leading up to that point where Palpatine was thrown to the pit was almost for nothing. It was for something, but, you know.
Well, it was just that, I guess you find that evil has resurrected itself in Palpatine. And, that just because you beat out evil one day doesn't mean it's not going to, rise back up in your life, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to get too over the top with it again this week like maybe I did last week.
All right, so I'm going to go now. How did you guys feel about the Chewbacca fake-out death? Or just death in general whenever he was taken?
I think I already discussed that earlier. I said that I felt like when Chewbacca died and it kind of played it off like he was dead, I was just like, really? But then at the same time, I was like, that's a cool thing. I mean, very few films show a mainline actor die in such a minute way. And so to me, that was like a breath of fresh air to say, mainline people can die easy too. They don't have to just go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that was cool for a moment. And then when they took it back, I was like, oh, well, cool. He's still alive. But at the same time, I was kind of like, well, there went the
point of that.
The point of that whole scene that, anybody can go out at any time.
That was kind of what I was feeling like whenever I saw it. What do you guys think? You guys can comment in the comment section. Mike said, it definitely jerked you around emotionally.
Yeah, it does. I'll agree. Sorry, I was fixing the comment. It hid it from us because you said jerk, and it didn't like that. Andy said, if he died, it made the movie more serious for me. When he came back, it was kind of like a Disney touch for either good or bad.
Yeah, it was kind of like a double-edged sword, whether he died or he came back.
Yeah,
I've heard a lot of people say that they would have rather him gone and then at the very end of the film come back or something. But I don't know. I don't think I would have wanted that.
I think it was better that
he would have stung worse if that happened.
Yeah, I think that would have been a terrible ending. I think it was better the way it came out of him coming back.
Yeah. All right. So, what did you guys think about the Kylo Ren saving Rey scene or the kissing scene? If you guys want to get into it.
Okay, well, we got about 15 minutes before an hour, so let's hold it to just a little bit here. This is probably the most talked about scene of the whole movie, and
Yeah.
Mike already mentioned that he thought it was terrible. And I'm
In a
not far
sense-
behind you because I think that whole generalized scene is terrible.
Look at what he posted.
Yeah, I think that whole generalized scene is kind of terrible myself.
I
But
have a very mixed of feelings for it. It's in one sense I'm like, oh, well, that kind of came out of nowhere. If they had maybe developed it a little bit more throughout this film, it would have been better. But then at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, they did develop it, but in episode 8, and I know people don't like episode 8, but other than me and what's his name that was up here. Butterlord, but I thought it was.
episode 8 was all right. I mean, it had plenty of problems.
It had problems,
but it was all right. It was.
I thought it was a good, clean, fresh of breath
If Luke wouldn't have been so blasted from the side, I feel like it would have been better. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I can. Your opinion is valid.
All right, let's move along.
All right. So, do you think Rey should be a Skywalker? Now, Mike, we got back to your statement from earlier. I have very mixed feelings about this too. In one sense, I'm like, yeah, I mean, she kind of, I wouldn't say she earned it, but it's like instead of choosing to be a Sidious, she chose to be a Skywalker, which is kind of nice.
Well, you can definitely say that that's what she was doing. She was making a distinction that not your birth parents or whatever, if you want to call it that, aren't what defines you.
Yeah.
And so if you have terrible parents or terrible grandparents or a terrible lineage, that doesn't define you. She was trained by by Luke, and apparently she was trained by Leia, which I thought that was weird. You want to talk about a weird part of the movie? When did Leia become a Jedi?
Well, I mean,
this
she
movie
was trained by Luke.
Yeah, but when? It wasn't in any other movie we've watched, and it obviously happened before the other movies. So I mean, that was like, listen, I take it back. That's the worst part of this movie.
Ooh.
And I'll say it flat. That's the worst part of this movie, is because there's no mention of it ever. And then all of a sudden now, poof.
Andy did bring up a good point. She said, does that mean she kissed her cousin, LOL?
Yeah.
And I said, just kidding. And then Mike said she was very easily could have taken the Palpatine name and then risen above it. And I agree. And he said, preach it, brother.
But I think that in the end, she chose that because of the people who trained her. And who knows, there may have even been some weird Ben Skywalker kind of thing from the kiss. I mean, it's weird. Like all of that working together was like, oh, now she's a Skywalker.
It's still a little weird. But if that was the case, she would have been a Solo. And which I probably would have.
That's true. She would have been a Solo.
So. And that was kind of weird that she was looking at Leia, who was at that point a Solo, and she was like, I'm a Skywalker.
Yeah.
So it was like they kind of like took Leia, and instead of her being a Solo, she was just a Skywalker.
I don't know. It's weird.
It was weird, but at a point, like I said earlier, it's kind of like I know why she was like that, why they made her why they said she was a Skywalker, but she could have said something like, she was always saying, I'm nobody. They could have maybe twisted that line. She was like, I'm nobody. Instead of being a Palpatine.
But they wanted you to see that she figured out who she was.
Yeah, I get that.
That's why they didn't do the nobody thing. And what was even weirder is she could have claimed anything, because when she was fighting with Palpatine and she says, I am all the Jedis. You know what I'm talking about? No, come on now. I know that was that whole divisional line, family line versus And that was all going on there. You can kind of tell in the way the movie works out. But,
Weird.
she might as well said she was Qui-Gon Jinn. Who knows, you know? I'm Ray Jinn.
Like I said earlier, I would have rather her had been a Kenobi. That would have been way cooler to me.
But her connection wasn't with Kenobi. It was with the Skywalkers.
I get that, but...
And so that's why she chose that. Let's move on.
All right.
What would you guys rate the film between 1 and 10? 1 being absolutely terrible, 10 being the greatest film you've ever seen in your life. Y'all comment and let us know while we tell you what we think. What would you, Cole? Between 1 and 10?
I hate to say it, but I think I'd give it a 6. Honestly, there were so many problems. It was enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. 6 is an average movie, but really, speaking in Star Wars terms, Star Wars should never be average. Really,
I'd give it a 6.5, 7, something like that.
Mike said 7, maybe 7.5. All right.
I mean, I told y'all last week, Rogue One's my favorite, which is far and above this particular one.
Mufasa.
But yeah, 8.5, very good. My main contention, the movie was great. If you lay everything aside and you just watch it, I mean, it's an 8. It's an 8 easy. It's an 8.5. But if you're taking all that stuff into consideration, it just kind of makes you go,
Yeah, I agree with you. If you're just watching it, you're like, yeah, it's an 8. I'd give it an 8 if I was just watching it without thinking about Star Wars, how it affects anything. I would say, yeah, it's pretty much an 8. It's a pretty good film, but when you take in consideration all of what this has all been leading up to, it kind of just like,
The next question goes along with it. Would you recommend
it? 7.5 is what Andy said.
So would you recommend it to a friend?
And then Mike Cross said, that's the problem, Cole. It's almost impossible for any new Star Wars movies to live up to the hype and expectations that we, the fans, have created. Yeah. Every film. Except The Mandalorian.
Except Rogue One, baby.
So.
What do we think? Would we recommend it to a friend? Y'all tell whether you would recommend it or not.
Yeah, real quick. Mufasa said, what would you give Episode 8 a rating? Even in Star Wars terms, for me, I'd still give it an 8, maybe even a 9. 8.5 is probably what I'd give it. I wouldn't give it a 9. That's a little too high.
I'd give it a 7.5 to an 8.
8's pretty much where I'd go.
I mean, there were lots wrong with it, but not as many major flaws to me. This one had a lot of major issues. I mean, I have a hard time getting over the whole Leia being a Jedi thing. Well, in 8, the whole Leia flying back to the ship is awkward.
That seems...
But makes more sense now that she's a Jedi.
Yeah. Mike said, absolutely, even the chapters we didn't love. Even the chapters we don't love are part of the story. Yeah. I think he's talking about chapters in Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And then Andy H said, yes, I would recommend it because you need to see Palpatine's chapter close. I'll agree
with you.
I would not recommend this to somebody who's about to watch a new Star Wars film.
Oh, no, but this would be on the list for you need to watch it.
Yeah, even Episode 1, I know a lot of people say, oh, don't even watch Episode 1. That one's useless. But even Episode 1, I'd recommend to somebody who's trying to watch all the Star Wars episodes. I wouldn't recommend that to be the first episode someone watches, but still.
Yeah, Mufasa, he says, I had a lot of friends that are absolutely hated 8 and thought 9 was much better. Mike Cross says, no way, you've got to have some background for Episode 9. I'll agree with both of you there in this aspect. You're going to have people that hate no matter what the film is. I like Rogue One, and it's like my favorite of all Star Wars. I mean, there's a lot of people who won't like that because they like Episode 4 or they like Episode 6 or 5. You know, those are probably the most popular 3 to me that people like.
A lot of people actually like Episode 3, but that's more people who like to make fun of films. But still.
But all in all, you're just going to find people that like different ones, you know, more than others. And that's okay. We can all have different likes and dislikes. That's what, you know.
Except for us. We would like all your likes.
Yes,
by the
if
way.
y'all can like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be great. But we have tons of people who like each film, and that's fine, or don't like them, and that's fine too. As for me, if I had to choose one over the other to watch, episode 8 or episode 9, I felt like 8 had less things to have to overcome in my mind than 9 did, as far as major catastrophes. That's just me.
Mufasa. Yeah, I was going to say
That's just me.
Mufasa said, I like this show better than 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the playing out of this one better as far as watchability, but I don't like the behind-the-scenes stuff. Like the things you have to think about and analyze, I felt like this one answered a lot of stuff that 8 left out, but the way they answered them was awkward. Like, how's Leia able to fly back to that ship? Well, she's a Jedi, but she's been a Jedi for so long, Why didn't you hear about that before today?
Yeah, why not
before
in episode
9? And so I felt like they took a lot of things they wanted to do with Carrie Fisher's extra scenes, and they crammed it into this movie to make it work.
Mufasa said actually he means I like your stream better than episode 8.
Oh.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. All right, next question. Do you think you will watch the movie again in the near future? And you can use near in your own relative sense.
I like to watch. I probably won't watch this episode for a while, personally, but I like to watch Star Wars episodes about a month in between each other. Maybe that's just me. I don't like to overdo Star Wars. I like Star Wars, don't get me wrong, but I don't like to overdo it.
I'm one of those people who I may not watch a Star Wars episode for a month, 2 months, but then I may sit down and say I'm going to watch 2 or 3 of them in 2 days. I'm like that.
You do. You're a lot like that. I remember before Disney Plus came out, we would
have a binge and watch them all.
We'd watch episode 4, 5, and 6, or 1, 2, and 3.
I like to have them close together because after a month, I forget what I watched. I'll forget little tiny things throughout the movie that I like to put together in my mind.
Mike said I'm due for another watching of it. Haven't seen it in a few weeks. And then Andy H said we binge for a couple weekends, so probably not in the near future.
Yeah, we probably won't watch this one again for a while, but I'll probably watch Rogue One in the near future. I watch it every time I go work out at the gym.
Yeah, those are opening up soon. So, all right. So I think that is all the questions.
So next week we're gonna we already have a film picked out. We picked it out last week with everybody. It was kind of a tight race between this one and Tangled.
Yeah.
We were looking at a Mother's Day film, and this one was the one that won the Mother's Day film because, it has
Star Wars.
Well, it has the whole big scene with Leia and trying to, get to Ben in this one, and so you kind of get that motherly love kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Tangled was our other one because Mother Gothel's such a great mom.
Yeah.
But it's in her name. Come on. But Tangled was our second runner-up, and they were like neck and neck. And we picked this one, and then more people came out for Tangled after we voted.
Well, actually, we chose Tangled, and then we said, or we could just watch this one next week.
And then everybody did this one. That's right. And so we're going to go ahead and do Tangled for next week so that those who thought they weren't getting Tangled still get it.
Yeah.
And so then next week we'll vote again.
Yeah.
Mike said, but I'm almost always watching Star Wars. What's he talking about? Oh, I'm due for another watching of it.
I haven't seen it in a few weeks.
Okay, but I'm almost always watching Star Wars.
Andy H said, sounds good.
Okay.
And I was going to say, before we sign off, we might want to remind everyone that at 250 subscribers, we're going to be giving away pin set.
Yeah, I've got it right here. Let me grab it.
But when we hit 250 subscribers, we're going to give away a pin set on a live stream. And if you're in the live stream itself, you get a double vote. Or
double
you get
entry.
you get a double entry. And if you subscribe, you get an entry as well.
So here is the pin set.
Yeah.
And this is a limited release set from January for Space Mountain. It's a beautiful set. called Minnie's Main Attraction.
Minnie's the main attraction.
Oh, Minnie Mouse, the main attraction. You're right. And if you don't know, this set sells on eBay for about $80 now. So if you are interested in getting it, we're going to give it away at 250 subscribers. So we'll be looking for those subscribers and looking to give that away soon enough.
Yeah, so invite your friends to come see the channel.
Why not?
Or anything if you want.
And if you don't know when all we do our videos, we have videos on Monday. During this quarantine, we're doing this Disney Plus. After the quarantine's over, we'll reevaluate and see if it's something we want to keep around. But we're just trying to provide a little other entertainment for everybody.
Yeah.
Then on Tuesdays, we do a live stream that's kind of a generic about different topics. And we usually post those somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes as late as 4, depending on how behind Cole might be on his schoolwork.
Well,
but now that he doesn't have any,
I don't have any
schoolwork. We should have those up somewhere close to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll know ahead of time what's discussion for that night. And then on Thursdays, we have a live pin trading video. It's a video, but then we're pin trading live in the chat feature.
Yeah.
And so as the pins come up, you can trade with us live in the chat.
So it's an
feature.
edited video, but.
And then on Saturdays, we just have a generic video that we've come up with throughout the week, where it may be about a dinner review, or it could be a ride that you watch us ride, or we take you on like a POV or something like that. And so those are on Saturdays.
Andy H said the pin trading videos are the best. Well, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And so we are glad y'all joined with us today. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Like he said, don't forget to hit the like and then subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Mm-hmm. Mike Cross said, $80. I should have bought a bunch of them, right? Because you're the one who picked them up for us. We didn't know they were going to do that, but they're worth like $80 now. And so we appreciate it, and can't wait to meet with y'all again tomorrow night.
Yep.
And until next time,
from our house to yours.